On everybody. Well, uh, the world is going insane, and but that doesn't mean that your world has to. The Meadows and Makers podcast is all about being self-reliant and becoming more self-reliant in your life. And so, we try to bring you guys some solutions on what you can do to move in that direction so that you don't have to be part of this system and you can move forward in a positive direction. So, anyway, that's what the goal is
Hey,
all about.
interact.
And oh man, oh well, we got Robbie here, and yeah, Robbie is staying safe by double masking.
I'm ready to smoke with interact.
Well, yeah, you got the eye protection, so the particles can't come in through the eyes either. So there you go. so so yeah, welcome everybody. I got my returning guest. I got Robbie on today, so we're gonna chat a little with you guys a little bit, just kind of about some stuff that's going on in the world, and some stuff that we're working on and what Robbie's got going on, and so we got some pretty cool announcements for you guys today, and especially with the developments of what Robbie's been working on for a while is the design of his Urbanite Aquaponics system and releasing some of his plans and PDFs online. So we're going to chat with him about that today, and then we're kind of just going to have a conversation and then kind of hear what you guys got going on. Maybe we'll have a good little chat with you guys in the audience, see what you guys are experiencing out there in the world. And so, right up front, what I always got to do for this show is that the views and opinions expressed on the show are my own and those of my guests. They do not reflect on MSP Waves and the wonderful people that keep this operation going. And so we can get out to you guys on the crypto lands, and everybody out there listening to the live stream on mspwaves.com/listen. You can go there and you can, mspwaves.com/watch. And you can go there and you can check out the live stream and watch the live broadcast right there. And you can see what I got pulled up on my screen and all that. And then I'll be sharing stuff with you guys in the Discord chat if you guys are hanging out in Discord. And then we'll get it going. So without further ado, hey Robbie, how's it going, man?
How's it hanging?
Yeah, pretty good. It's just been some crazy times, man. How's everything been going for you on your homestead and everything that you got going on?
It's been going a slow go. I bought this big property and kind of bit off a little more than I could chew. So it's been a lot of work, but it's coming along. We're getting there. And as far as the aquaponics and stuff goes, I've had so many other irons in the fire that I've not put as much effort as I normally would have into the greenhouse and aquaponics. And as a result, I don't have it all completed yet, but it's very close. So anyway, trying to get my fish population back up. Back last winter, I had a hard freeze that knocked out a lot of my fish population, and that's been a challenge. But as you saw yesterday, I've got a couple of hundred, 200, 300 fish there. They're just not big yet. They're the fry size fish, about 2 inches long. I mean, I do have 30 or 40, probably 6 inch, 8 inch fish, but most of them are the 2 to 4 inch long fish. And by the way, I'm gonna be cleaning out that one long tank that has the small fry fish and combining them over into one tank. And when I break that down the next day or so, you're welcome to come and get that tank, and we'll use that for the urbanite.
Okay. Yeah. So we had a couple lessons learned on building this urbanite system, and so we we attempted to drill a hole in the aquarium tank the other day, and it ended up not working out so well. So
The tempered and right as tempered glass, right as the drill bit starts to penetrate, it tends to break the glass. So that happened to us.
yep,
Um, so I guess I went back and changed the manual, to reflect that, show that, hey, make sure you get drillable glass or buy one that's already drilled, or if you don't want to do none of that, just use a plastic tote. And you know,
yeah,
so really we're using the aquarium for demonstration purposes, so you can see the fish and see what's going on in the system and all of that. But it's not required. You can use a plastic tote. The difference is it's not clear, but you could always cut out a panel on it and mount and silicone you in a piece of clear plexiglass and have it that way. And that way you wouldn't have to worry about breaking any glass.
yep, yep. And just from doing that process myself, yeah, it's I would definitely recommend you either getting a tote of some kind if you're gonna build this system and use some plastic or get, like Robbie said, get one pre-drilled. That's get an aquarium tank that's got a pre-drilled hole in it.
You can buy them pre-drilled. They just charge you extra for it.
Yeah.
Because when you have to order them because they make the glass. They have different types of glass, and some of it's drillable, some of it's not. And they'll make an aquarium with at least one panel that's drillable so they can put the hole in it. And, now I've drilled 3 of mine and had no problems other than the small tanks. The 10-gallon tanks are so thin, they bust. But on the larger tanks, I had no issues. And the only thing I could think of is that they were older tanks and must have been drilled with glass because, I didn't have the same issue happen to me that we had yesterday.
Yeah. Yep, that was a bummer, but whatever, it happens.
Well, like I said, I was the one directing traffic on that. I'm going to give you that other tank that's already drilled and let you utilize that. And I'm going to take the one that you brought here and I'm going to take it to a glass company in town and tell them what I want to do and let them recommend what type of glass they need to put into it. So,
Gotcha.
and then I'll just go at it from that angle and rework that one and give you the one that I already have. So,
Okay. Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, I'm excited to build this thing and walk through the steps on building it. I'm pretty much going from your manual, and we're working on putting it together. so, yeah, it's been pretty cool so far. And we built the stand and all this a little while back, and um, that
that's 2 or 3 weeks ago, something like that. So,
yeah. So I got some pictures from that I can throw up in the chat room here.
I've got the PDF, the beginning of it right there on the share screen. Can you see it?
Yep, I can see it. Yep.
They can see my cursor, I suppose, there, the system in the corner. And it is, like I say, it's designed for aquariums because that's what I have. But you're not required to use aquariums. You can use anything. You can see in this right here. Let me slow down a little bit. You can see here how there's pretty detailed information. Tells you how to put this thing together. Tells you what to cut. Gives you layouts. And then when you get down, tells you how to cut the plywood, what order to put it in. At the end, I also added I know that's not in your documentation because you had a beta version.
Yeah.
I went back and added an appendix that's got links to all of the supplies so that you can order the supplies. And so let me fly on down here to where we can see the finished, the wood assembly. So there you can see that's the box that we built a couple of weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago. Of
Yep. I
course,
just
this is a
posted
regular.
that in the chat.
Oh, did you? You
Yep.
posted yours up there.
Yep.
Yeah, we use one buys instead of plywood on yours. And then of course we get into here and I'll show you how. Here's the drilling the glass part, but we're going to skip over that. Uh, I get in here and tell you how to lay all of this out. Show you how to build the filters. Now this stuff is all applicable in larger systems. This is just a smaller system that basically gets you some hands-on experience and allows you, especially if you're in like a suburb or subdivision, then
Yep.
you can build it and it won't be so massive and be, you know, against the conventions of the subdivision.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Yeah, it would go really.
yeah, see, I go in, go ahead.
Yeah, it would go really well in somebody's backyard, or uh, yeah, you could even put it inside your house if you wanted to, and have some grow lights or something like that. You just have to be cautious on if you know there could be a potential. You just have to watch out for water getting might get out at some point in time or something. But
Well, hopefully the system design, if you build it as directed, if the pumps clog or if any of the pipes clog or if the drain clogs or anything like that, and you get a fish caught in the pipe, then the water won't have an opportunity to overflow anywhere. It'll
yeah,
have to flow through this. Now the only possibility would be that if the exit tube for the um, fish tank were to get completely clogged where no water could get out, then it's possible that the fish tank could overflow. But it wouldn't drain out the fish tank. It would just stop when the water ran out of the sump.
yeah, yep, yep. So yeah, it's a great little system for anybody that wants to get started in aquaponics and start to really avoid a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of people kind of get stuck in when you get started with this. I mean, there's so many ways you can design these systems, and this is really a system that is kind of you've figured out over the years that you've done aquaponics, uh, and it's like one of the more bulletproof ways that you can build a system like this.
Right, because I went to the school of hard knocks, and it took me several years to figure out the way this stuff is assembled uh, in order to make it work properly. Anyway, um, and I show you how to build it on the cheap as well, so that you're not having to buy expensive media and things like that. So anyhow, yeah, you can get that right now. I've got that up on the DIYaquaponic.com.
Yep, I'm
And
put that website up there right now. Yeah, Robbie just put up his website here, DIYaquaponic.com. So you guys can go check that out. Uh, and he's got the two PDF guides up there for you guys. And then he's also provided a discount code for anybody that's listening to the show today. And that is makers 90 off. And I'll type that into the chat here. For anybody that wants to go on his site and grab
the
the
essential
the
manual, you can get that for $1.
yep.
Uh,
So
so you go in there, and when you go to click on the thing, it'll ask you for a coupon code. You punch that in, and it'll be $1. So
Yep. And
that book is about 60 pages, and it's got all of the basic information. It's got the biology breakdowns, how the nitrogen cycle works, the pH scales, how they work, how the water interacts with the plants and the fish, and how the nutrient uptake works with the plants. Just give you a full breakdown of everything. So,
yep. Yep. So it's a really great book. It's chock full of awesome information about the entire concepts and background behind aquaponics and how you can, take your, if you're interested in getting started with aquaponics, that I think it's a really good primer book for you to understand what's really happening in the system and the whole science behind how everything works in aquaponics, and can really help you, kind of maybe be an advocate, or, uh, you know, understand aquaponics to a point that you can do more troubleshooting on your own and things like that. So, go
right.
definitely go check it out, guys.
It tells you mistakes that I made, because I made a lot of mistakes along the way. And, outlining there the mistakes I made and those hard lessons I learned. So hopefully I can keep all these guys out here that are getting into it for the first time from making those same mistakes. And because I know we talked about this several times, but my goal here is to try to get as many people as possible as food independent as possible. Now,
Absolutely.
I don't have that we're going to be 100%, but if we can get to where we have more people growing organic food, you have a healthier population, you have a more decentralized food system, and it's not going to affect you nearly as bad if the shipping or the food trucks and stuff start slowing down or heaven forbid stop. And we've seen with this COVID stuff how sensitive that is, so when you start messing around with the supply chain, then you can wind up with a lot of issues.
Absolutely. You got stories coming out from, one of the recent ones that I saw was from Ice Age Farmer, and I highly recommend everybody go check out his YouTube channel. And he's all over the place as well. I believe he also posts on Hive, if I'm not mistaken, Ice Age Farmer. But he had a really great video recently. He's been covering this issue of the food shortages for a while, and I think this is a fact that not a whole lot of people are actually looking into, or some people aren't totally aware of all this, but there's been some serious issues definitely with the supply chain going on, and the recent story that came out with him is that Idaho farmers were dumping massive amounts of potatoes into just a hole in the ground to because of the effects of the supply chain. There's nowhere to send their potatoes to. So yeah, I mean, you have,
Right. He's just, gosh, there's a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
yeah, dairy farmers that were told to dump their milk. Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the models are kind of changing for the farmers. I know I was recently listening into I was recently um, listening into a podcast with Joel Salatin, and he was talking about how times have never been better for his farm, and the way that they're doing their local food production, and all of the little products that they sell off of his kind of polyface farms out in Virginia. So yeah, for some people that are, I think really the people that are doing the localized food production are gonna find themselves in a better situation in the coming years, even if you can uh, be able to just grow your own food at a certain degree, like you said, you're going to be in a better position uh, in the future. And one of the great
Yeah.
things that he was talking about on his show recently too was that he had a lady Majorie Wildcraft come on, um, and they were talking about the foods that you can plant to like the survival crops that you can plant for your own food security. And um, they were stating in that podcast that if 1 in 3 families could have a farm that could mostly sustain themselves, then you'd have no problem with the food supply chain or any of that. So that's what to ease the system and the stress on the system, that if 1 in 3 families can farm and grow a substantial amount of their own food, then you're going to be in a good position. The food problem in the United States will be solved if just 1 in 3 families grows most of their own food. So, and it's more important than ever now. Especially for your immune system. The book I've been reading lately is What Really Makes You Ill by Don Lester and David Parker. And in the book, it talks about basically four factors on how somebody becomes ill, and that's nutrition, it's exposure to toxicities, it's electromagnetic radiation (EMFs), and then it's stress. And so, as long if you can lower your stress, you can get in all the nutrients you need from grown organic foods that are able to take up the nutrient sources in the soils, and be able to convert them into a usable form for you and your cells. And you try to keep away from toxicity and lower your exposures to EMFs. Your immune system is going to do its own job at a really high capacity, and so you'll be protected from whatever comes your way. So.
Right. And that's one of the things that I learned along the way about aquaponics is because it's in that solution the way it is. There are these organic salts that are created, and it allows the plant to uptake those organic salts so that it absorbs those micronutrients more readily. And you'll get a more nutritious vegetable or food product that way because it's going to have all the micronutrients in it. The plant has that readily available to uptake as a nutrient versus just having something that you throw in a flower pot and stick some plant food in.
Right.
Because if you do that, you can get it to grow, and you might have some really good looking tomatoes or something like that. But the problem is that the micronutrients usually are not present. It's just the base 16 in small quantities and the base 3 in large quantities. And when I say base 3, I'm talking about the three elements of the fertilizer. So
Oh
that you
yeah,
get the
nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium.
potassium, yeah. So I mean, you can throw the base 3 out in the ground anywhere and get a plant that looks great. But that's the reason why when you go buy something at the supermarket, a lot of times you get it home and it either rots very quickly, or you bite into it and it's just all water and you really don't have much flavor. And it's because there's not much there other than water in the base 3. So
Yeah.
uh, I think up to 90 something micro nutrients, and aquaponics can provide over half of that. So you can use a product called C90, which is just basically dried sea salt, uh, and just put that in the aquaponic system in small doses, and it supplies the rest of those micronutrients, and you have a totally organic system.
Yeah. Yeah. it really is a way that you can control all your inputs, and especially if you're growing it under a greenhouse and things, you can keep some outside contaminants from coming in and contaminating your what you're growing too. So, and it's also a way, definitely in Alabama, you can grow all year round if you're in a greenhouse, and I know you've proven that, and I've proven that as well. That using aquaponics, you can grow year round in Alabama, and you definitely you have to be able to heat your water, and that's one of the big issues during the wintertime with aquaponics is that you do need to have a way of heating your greenhouse and finding some way that you can do that without having to use a whole ton of electricity. So, uh, I know you've got some solutions for that.
Hold on, I have one I just passed a minute ago here. Right here. Hang on, let's go right there. Now this is copper tubing or copper pipe, and what you do is take a piece of plywood and some valley tin. You screw down the valley tin to it, and then you take this copper pipe. And since then, I mean, I've soldered all this up, but since then I found even a better way. If you just go buy like a 50-foot roll of that tubing and just wind it around flat like you would a Tesla coil or something, and just have an inlet and outlet on there, paint it all black, put it under glass, and all you have to do is have like a 50-watt water pump that comes on during the day, runs by a solar panel, and so you could even have it photosensitive so that you'd have to have a certain amount of light that would make sure that on cloudy days it wouldn't come on. But yeah, you could collect a lot of heat, and I found this to be extremely efficient. This method is more efficient at collecting heat and heating water than you could put 3,000 watts of electrical heater elements down in the water, and you won't be nearly as effective as this. And this costs you 50 watts of power.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. You know, uh, Last year when I had my system running through the wintertime, I was just using a little ceramic heater and a old waterbed heater, and that definitely will eat up some electricity, and they're running all the time, and so yeah, I definitely need to build something like what you're talking about for this next season, so that I don't have to be doing any of that and spending so much electricity.
Water is a great thermal sink.
Yep.
It will store heat, um, and it's going to be more effective if you have large volumes of water. The smaller volume of water, the more it will evaporate out. Any surface contact that the water has with cold air will evaporate heat out of it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can limit that exposure to the cold air, so you'll want to put something over your sump tanks. Um, and that's another reason why I did a redesign off of my old system, because I had a huge sump tank, and there's no way to cover it. Whereas now I have a sump tank in a localized area that I can cover.
Mm-hmm.
So in the wintertime, I can cover the sump tank with, plywood or just insulated panel or piece of glass or just whatever. And I found that glass works pretty good too, because in the daytime, you can let the glass collect heat for you because it'll trap it inside the sump tank, and use that in addition to your little solar collector. But yeah, you can see in this picture I have up here now, this
Well,
down in the far left corner,
well, Robbie,
that black plastic.
Robbie, we're kind of like stuck, or on my end, I'm stuck on your widescreen of all the images you had. So I don't know. Maybe you can try pulling it back up.
Can you see me now?
Yeah, I see you. It was just stuck on one of those screens with all your pictures of your files or whatever, and it wasn't pulling up the individual pictures you were trying to show.
Oh, wow, gee whiz. Okay. Yeah, dadgum. I've been scrolling through all those pictures, and I've just had everybody looking at a bunch of blobs, I guess.
No, it was just
Okay.
the
So
picture
you
of
look
the whole
at that.
screen there.
Can you see that now?
Uh, I can see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A bunch of kale. It looks like.
Kale. All right. Yeah, if you look down at the bottom left corner down here, that black plastic, that
Yeah.
used to be my old sunk tank, and it ran about 30 feet long under the grow beds. Well, that sunk tank was impossible to insulate. And so, because it has such a huge surface area in contact with cold air, it would
Yeah.
evaporate heat out rapidly.
Oh.
And so, I've constricted my sunk tanks and made them deeper and wider and made them a lot shorter so that I don't have so much surface exposure.
Okay.
And by doing that, I'm able to cover the sunk tank with something and keep the surface from contacting that cold air and evaporating out the heat. So that's one little trick you can do that'll help you a lot. Okay, so wow, so nobody was seeing any of these pictures I was scrolling through.
Well,
Uh,
we could see all the
let's
pictures,
see
but
here.
not any individual
Let me go
pictures.
back to
But they're coming up right now.
here. This was this was what I was talking about earlier with that heater.
Okay.
So you can see it's just a piece of plywood with a sheet metal screwed down and copper piping put down on the top of it and secured down to the metal. And all this stuff is painted black and then put underneath a piece of glass.
Mm-hmm.
What I did is I took an old sliding glass door that someone gave me
Yeah.
because the sliding door had got frosted on the inside and it got stuff and they couldn't see through it good. So no more, so they replaced it. But I took the door apart, took the panels out, took the glass, cleaned the glass, and then I went online and bought some of that stuff they use to make solar panels, the framing,
Yeah.
the aluminum framing, and then just cut me a frame and sandwiched it onto that glass. So just that one free glass door that I got, sliding glass door, gave me 4 glass panels, 3 feet wide and almost 7 feet tall.
Nice.
And so you could use a technique like that and make a massive solar water heater. And like I said, using just a small pump, you can pump through these tubes during the daytime while the sun is out. And it'll just, these tubes right here will get up to about 150 degrees underneath glass. So when you're
Nice.
pumping water through it, it's going to cool it down. That heat's going to transfer to your system.
Right. So
And if you do that, you can survive the winter without much issue, really.
so what kind of pump were you using for this? We're using a standard just like sump pump for it, or
I'm just using those little pond pumps that I bought at Harbor Freight.
okay.
I mean, a little $40. Um,
Okay. And you just like
now they do. If you want to go with the solar panel, that's what I'm using because that's AC powered. But if you want to go with the solar powered, where you're running DC,
yeah.
you can get a DC pump, it's a bilge pump,
Yep.
and you can get it in either 24 or 12. And they generally pull about 35 to 50 watts. And it wouldn't take a real big solar panel, but I would use about 150 watt, 200-watt solar panel, and hook that thing up to that pump and have it so that when the light reaches a certain, put your photo sensor in there, and when the light reaches a certain intensity, that pump kicks on and you're good to go until the light gets out of range. It'll cut off automatically.
Yeah. Nice.
And that's a solution that requires zero power input from the the grid. So
Yeah, and in a pinch, you can use it as a still.
it's good.
That was a comment from Ron Dunn in the crowd there. Yeah.
Man. You can see here, I've got these large right here. And so if you have a heater like that and you pipe it in so that the water is coming out of the sump tank, running through the outside water heaters and back into the fish tank,
Yeah.
then you're going to heat up your fish tank connection first. And these tanks are easy to insulate, so they can hold a lot of water and hold a lot of heat at the same time.
What do you like to use to insulate those big fish tanks? What kind of materials stuff do you like to use for that?
Well, I bought some of that. Let me go back to the image here. If you look on the side wall right here, I bought some of that stuff that they use on metal buildings.
Oh
It comes in
yeah,
a 6 foot wide roll.
yeah.
Uh, and they put it up there before they put the metal in. That stuff works really well. The issue that I ran into that was that the very next summer that rolled around, I found that I had mice really liked it too because they can get up in that insulation and burrow
Oh okay.
and make nests and things like that because they can tear into it and chew into it.
Yeah.
So this next go around, I'm converting over to the insulated panels.
Oh, just
The solid panel.
the solid foam panels or something.
Yeah, solid foam panels, and you can put just a real rudimentary wooden frame, just screw it right onto the side of the tote, and then attach that foam on there. Um, my only advice to you, if you're going to do that, is try to make sure that it goes all the way down into the ground or something like that. If you leave airflow running underneath here, then you're losing a ton of heat.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, if anybody may have any questions about aquaponics that they want to ask in the crowd, feel free to ask any questions that you have. Um, so I know you got some more stuff going on your homestead. You got your chickens going, and you got some rabbits going, and then you've been working on that sawmill, and yeah, recently you guys built a really nice looking pavilion out of some of that wood that you guys created off that sawmill. It looks really nice.
Yeah, it was just some rough cut two befores. I don't have a picture of it. I'd throw it up here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but the two befores were rough cut, and what I had is I had one of those things that we bought at Sam's Club, one of those temporary tents that you put up like a shade tent, has
Yeah.
the canvas to give you a shade, and has a little metal fold out frame. And we put that thing up at our back door just to have shade because we got this concrete out there and it's just hot.
Yeah.
And also, rain and stuff off. But we had a couple of rainstorms come through and it just tore that thing all to pieces. It didn't hurt the canvas top, but it took the metal frame and just tore it all to pieces, just collapsed it because that stuff is real flimsy, to say the least. But
Yeah.
so anyway, rather than just throw the whole thing away, I scrapped the metal and took the canvas frame and measured out, the
Dimensions.
pitch and the angles and everything, and then just built a wooden frame and stuck that up there.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I'll look on my phone and see if I can find a picture of it. If I can, I'll send you a picture. Maybe you'll be able to put it up.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I should be able
But
to post it up there. Yeah. Yeah, so
here we go.
so yeah, everything that's going on in the world right now, man, like what are your thoughts on all the masks and what they're doing with that right now? I know in Alabama that the governor recently came out and said that that masks are required across the entire state, and you know I just want to maybe hear your thoughts on what you're thinking about some of that stuff.
Yeah. So anyway, they say heat or something. You want to try to, do the best you can to stay safe. So I always wear full protection when I'm driving or, when I'm out in public.
Oh man. Yeah,
Needless to
that's
say, I think it should be obvious.
yeah,
It's pretty absurd.
that's about how ridiculous it is for sure.
Now I could understand if you had some medical grade mask and you were in an affected area. You had people that were highly contagious around you all the time. That might be one thing, but these little things here and this little stuff here that's being sold and people are making them in on. The fact is that the fibers in here um, are, what, 150 microns to 400 microns. Anyway, they're the distance between the fibers where they cross. There's a microscopically there's a hole,
Yep.
and it's about 10 times larger than the size of the virus itself.
Right.
So the virus, I'm sure some of it will get caught in this, but the bulk of it's going to go right through it. And that does not account for what gets in your ears and your eyes, on your hands, on your clothes, on your skin.
Yep.
So the whole point of wearing a mask seems almost moot. If you wear the mask, it's really basically for a couple of reasons. It's because it's required in the place you're in, you're conforming, and you're trying to make elderly people feel better. Now, I'm not diminishing that the people that actually have COVID that have dealt with these issues, but by and large in rural areas, this is almost a non-issue because it's not out there. In these rural areas, you might have 1 in 10,000, and everybody else is not affected with it. Now, in a big city where everybody's compacted in, you got a hospital and everybody's compacted in, I can see it being transmitted. So passing a mandate, which is a decree, by the way, is not a law, to require everybody to wear one of these things is politics, pure and simple, in my opinion.
Yeah, and how are well, the comment in the chat is Robbie, it's just a mask. It's for the greater good. Just take it, man. Just wear the mask.
Sure. And I do wear it. I mean, I went to the grocery store yesterday. I wore it. But, the point is that is it really doing what they say it's doing? They don't really have a real good track record if you go back and look as to what they say is happening and what's really happening. So is it really doing what they say it's doing? And I think that it's possibly, well, not possibly, I think it's mostly political posturing. If they really wanted to control this coronavirus, they would have restricted flights at the very beginning.
Yeah.
They didn't do that. We were told it was non-contagious to start with. Then we were told that no possible way that the people coming over could possibly spread it. Then we were told that when it gets to the heat in the summer, it'll die. And now everything's upside down. It's totally opposite of what they say. At some point, you have to say gee whiz, is what I'm being told the actual facts, or is it being manipulated to fit a particular viewpoint or narrative? And there's a lot of that going on. Uh, there's a lot of political posturing around the COVID. And again, I'm not saying it's not real. Don't put me in some kind of daggum
Yeah.
conspiracy slash theory basket. But by and large, in rural areas where it's not a factor, requiring somebody to wear one of these is just political posturing. It's just saying, see what I did. Look, I did something. And whether or not it's effective, we won't know for years. And the fact of the matter is, we may never know because the data has been all over the place. We don't even know if half the data is true. We can't get straight answers from people and stuff. So,
Well, my thing is with all these governors making these mandates and decrees, mandates are not laws. These people are not queens and kings over their lands. They're not. If you believe in the governmental system that exists now, that you still have to, create laws through a legislature. You don't just make decrees and tell people that you must follow this decree and it have any real backing whatsoever. So, I think a lot of people really need to push back against this and not wear the masks. I mean, if you understand how ineffective, and they're not even effective, that don't wear the mask and go in there and push back against this stuff, because it has no standing. There is no standing. You can't just have somebody make a decree and say that it is done. Wear my mask, wear your masks, my little peasants.
Look, we tried to solve the problem. That's what this is about. Let me just point out something. All right, look, we got a mask here. I put it on. If I can get the thing to stay. So I put the mask on. Now, the goal is to keep the virus from entering the sinus cavity. That's where it starts. It's where it takes root. It's where it grows, and it expands down to the lungs. Okay, here and here both are sinus cavity openings. So this only protects the heavy breathing. Now, it'll protect, if you're infected, it will minimize the amount of spew that you put out of the virus particles. Because if you're breathing, you're going to be putting it out. But if you're wearing this, you're breathing heavier. Particles are collecting up in the daggum thing, and they're going out at the same time. So here we are. We're standing around talking. This guy's putting out maybe 15%. Let's just go very conservative, which really it's a lot more than this, but about 15% of what he breathes out makes it through the mask. Okay, if you're standing within 15 feet, forget 6 feet, if you're standing within 15 feet of this person, minute droplets are going to be landing in your eyes.
Yeah.
Landing on your skin. And all it takes is one to get in the tear duct. You've got it. So to then say that this is going to prevent it is absurd. It's not going to do that. They totally ignore the eye thing and the thing about the eyes and the skin. As a matter of fact, they come out with this little thing, and let me just throw you a demonstration out. So if you're using one of these right here, you're transmitting the disease. But if you're using one of these, this thing is immune. It will not live on this surface, according to the government. It won't transfer from your hand to this. Nobody can get it if you use this, but it'll transfer if you use this. There's the logic here.
Right.
It tells you that there's some other mindset going on. There's some other thinking. Uh, what that
Well,
is, I say to an exact degree, I can guess, but I can tell you that from what I've seen, there's a lot of political posturing around this issue, and
well, there's a lot. Well, I mean, there's a lot of evidence that shows that this has been a big pre-planned event for some time. I mean, you have Rockefeller documents that go back and talk about uh, whatever the plan for the new American century, or it's there's a Rockefeller document out there that talks about how all it lays out a scenario like a pandemic and talks about how all the nations of the world will act in lockstep with each other. That's exactly what we saw happen. All nations pretty much went under the same rules and lockdowns and guidelines at the same time. So that's just saying that all these independent nations are not acting as independent sovereign nations anymore. They're acting as one world, basically one world control system.
there's another aspect to that because, and you go back and look at the beginning of this, it took hold, spread, and what you're talking about there, where everybody took action, all started in socialist countries.
Yeah,
So
in China
started
and
started and spread out, and people say, "What about Italy?" Well, Italy just became socialist, and what people don't realize is if they go back and look at the history of socialism, they find that the political people involved in the conversion to socialism usually position themselves to be the beneficiaries of that system. And it always winds up in a situation where instead of being more equal for people, it becomes less equal for people because you have a small group of people controlling everything by decree.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's the important uh,
yeah,
because when you rule by decree, it means that you can change the law at a whim. Any politician in sufficient power can say, well, you know, I don't like the color red, and anybody wearing a red shirt's going to prison. And so they don't have to make it a law, it's just a decree. So they send the police out. Anybody wearing a red shirt, they arrest. You know, I know that's an extreme example, but it happens in socialist political environments.
yeah. So yeah, patient zero put up in the chat room the name of this document from the Rockefeller Foundation is scenarios for the future of technology and international development, and it was
Yeah, and we've said a million times on here that all you have to do is go look. The stuff's out there. These
yeah,
people have documented because they actually believe that they have to tell you what's coming. And if you don't do something about it, it gives them consent to do it.
right.
I mean,
And
that's their belief system. And so,
it doesn't matter if you don't believe in it. That's what they
no
believe.
matter if you don't believe it, I mean, that's irrelevant. The point is that they told you this was coming, even though it's in some obscure paper somewhere, you didn't take the initiative to go find it. And therefore, you're responsible, not them.
Yep.
That's the way they think. So we have to take it upon ourselves to go look at these documents. And when you start looking at those documents, I haven't ran into anyone yet who's been exposed to the actual documents who, after reading them didn't come back and say, wow, I had no idea this was going on. Um, because most of them, they think that things are a lot different than what they are as far as the way the system goes with these folks that are trying to push these agendas.
Right.
You know, we're talking about people, high profile people that have a lot of money, and they're able to push these agendas out into the public to get them to respond in a certain way. And they use psychology to do it.
Yeah,
So,
you know, it really isn't. These guys really have no power over you. Is what people really need to realize. They need your consent. They need you to do it out of your own free will and put yourself into a system of control and slavery. Once they have you and have sold you the idea that you know you have to keep each other in line, and they don't have to do a damn thing. They'll have you'll have you know, snitching on their neighbor. You'll have Karens out in the world that are just telling on everybody that's doesn't want to comply with these orders and is being different and going against the grain of the authorities. And you know, you have family members that are wanting to keep you in check too, that want to have you conform to what everybody else is doing as well. So it's not really the people that we think are controlling. It's each one of us are controlling each other in the way they have it set up, because it has to be the free will.
what you just said is very interesting because, as you know, during Obama's presidency, when they started to restructure Homeland Security, they hired a man out of Germany who was the head of the ex-communist Stasi for East Germany. And this is the man they paid $5 million to as a consultant to come to the United States and restructure Homeland Security.
Mm.
Now, part of the Stasi's tactic was to get the public to police themselves
Yeah.
through this tattletale type scenario. And what we see today developing, you know, I mean, we saw the campaign afterward, you know, see something, say something. They framed it as a terrorist uh, scenario, but it got repositioned politically as anyone who disagrees with your political viewpoints. So that's what we have happening today. We have an extension of see something, say something. And most people have bought into the neuro linguistic programming that they've been given. And they just believe that all of these measures are going to save them
Right.
because that's what they're. And it's not that it wouldn't help or this, that, and other, but the way it's being done is clearly political. So we have to look at that too. We have to look at the health issue. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying for a second we should deny that anything's happening, but what we have to do is we have to look at the real data. And when the real data is skewed by political misinformation due to uh, cash and financial incentives, then it calls into question everything else. You have to say, well, gee, if I can't depend on the raw data, what can I depend on? And I have these people out here telling me one thing on one side and something else on the other. You know, where do you come down with that? I mean, so you have to have a little bit of deductive reasoning. You have to say, well, gee whiz, you know, the data that I'm seeing is not reliable because of these factors. So what are the facts? And that's hard to ascertain. It's very difficult in this situation to ascertain what's what.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, it's well, I mean, how convenient was it that this CARES Act was put through Congress and everything like that, and how quickly did that thing move through? That you know, how convenient was it that they had this giant legislation ready to go to be implemented? So you know,
That's it. Bureaucrats. The bureaucrats have a boys club, basically, and they put together something that they want to see happen. They'll promote legislation and then they'll set it in the wings. And then they'll work towards creating a social situation that will allow them to present that documentation. This has happened over and over and over. Anybody that cares to look will find it. It happens repeatedly. There's stuff in the wings right now just waiting for this thing to explode. So it's no accident, I don't believe. I mean, how do you come up with 10,000 pages of legal documentation in a couple of days? You don't. And you damn sure don't have a senator somewhere coming up with all 10,000 pages in 2 days. It's just absurd for anybody to look at that and believe that that is the reality of the situation.
right.
I mean, it's not just this COVID thing. I mean, it's happened over and over and over. It happened at 9/11. It happened with the bailouts. I mean, it was already in place, and they were waiting for the opportunity to pull it out and use it.
Right.
And it usually 9 times out of 10, well, not 10 times out of 10, there are pieces built into it that transfer wealth from the masses to the few. This is built into these types of legislations. These folks, they want to position themselves to be mediators so that they get a chunk of that wealth as it gets transferred. Happens every time. It's no accident. It's not something that's a mystery. Anybody that's involved in big politics knows it.
Right. so So in this document for the scenarios for the future of technology and international development, on page 18, where it says lockstep, uh, it it goes in and talks about okay. It's saying the pandemic had a deadly effect on economies. International mobility of both people and goods screeched to a halt, debilitating industries like tourism and breaking global supply chains. Even locally, normally bustling shops and office buildings sat empty for months, devoid of employees and customers. The pandemic blanketed the planet through disproportionate numbers, and though disproportionate numbers died in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire in the absence of official containment protocols. But even in developed countries, containment was a challenge. The United States' initial policy of strongly
Stop.
discouraging. Sorry.
Go back.
Yeah.
You said, you're reading that. You were talking about how you had wild outbreaks in Asia and South America due to what? Go back and read that again.
Well, it says the pandemic blanketed the planet, though disproportionate numbers died in Africa, Southeast Asia, and Central America, where the virus spread like wildfire in the absence of official containment protocols. You get that? Because they're saying
There
that,
you go.
yeah, they want to sell you on the idea uh,
This
that
is neurolinguistic
that the government's gonna
programming.
solve all your
This right
problems.
here is, now this is telling you through indirect means and through the example of suffering on the other side, that if you don't do what we say, you will suffer the same consequences then. This is neuro linguistic programming. It's used constantly these days. It used to be a fringe thing back in the 2000s and mid 2000s. Now it's become mainstream. You have neuro linguistic programming in politics and media everywhere. But the fact that what's the date on that document?
I believe this was in 2012, but let me check here.
Okay. So they
Actually,
attempt
this report was produced by the Rockefeller Foundation and Global Business Network, May 2010.
2010. Okay, so they were prepping for 2012 because there was a big build up to 2012 of this major catastrophe. The New World Order is about 6 years behind the schedule. And as I've said before, I expect things to escalate, not de escalate, because they want to try to get things done a certain way in a certain time frame, and they're behind schedule and getting a lot of pushback. And everything that they try they shoot themselves in the foot. You know, they're not getting where they think they're getting or thought they were going to go with it.
Well, yeah, and I think
So
everything that these guys are doing is really getting people interested in things like gardening, growing their own food, trying to be more self sufficient, more self reliant. It's actually pushing. It's actually getting people to start really seriously thinking about those things and really taking those things into their own hands. At least the people that can see the agenda here, that are really seeing what's going on, and they're pulling the rug right out from under everyone right now. And I think it's a really good time. Definitely take things like that seriously if you want to be able to weather the storm going into this year. And who knows, man? Who knows how long it could take? But if enough people that can see the agenda here start to withdraw their consent from the system and move away from it and begin building our networks between each other, so that we don't have to use their systems to buy food and clothes and things like that. We can provide those products to ourselves through our networks. Then
yeah,
we don't need that system anymore.
uh, there's three linchpins for any tyrannical takeover. Number one is food. Number two is personal protection or weapons. Number three is transportation. So if you can take away those three, you can take away personal freedoms. And this has been the linchpin of every tyrannical government for the last 300 years.
Yep.
Anybody can go look at the history and see it. Every single time it happens.
Yeah, it's a formula. It's a formula that you can keep playing over and over again. Problem, reaction,
Yeah.
solution, and just
And the is that if you spread it out over 40 or 50 years in between, the generational gap is such that the new generation doesn't remember or know what the older generation does.
right.
So it allows to play the same script over and over and over. And if you want to dive real deep with this thing, just go look at how many politicians are involved in what they do now, but have their basis of operation out of a book called The Rules for Radicals, which is a communist manifesto of sorts. It basically tells you how to take a free democratic society and convert it to a tyrannical communist society and be the one benefiting. And that's the summation of the book. And it's interesting that a certain presidential female candidate based her PhD thesis on that particular book. and was friends with the author.
Uh,
So I don't put anything past any politician because I don't trust any of them.
yep, yep, me either. So yeah, we had a comment in the chat from Vaccines Cause Avian Flu, JP Movement 19 said, yeah, I don't think you're behind it all. They just initiated a 10-year plan for 2030, and that was the plan all along. Um, well, they've definitely adapted their plan to shift it because there was Agenda 21, and now they shifted that to Agenda 2030. Um, so yeah, I mean, you can really see that there is an agenda to keep people from trying to grow their own food. I mean, um, yeah, this is Agenda 21. I agree. Vaccines cause avian flu. It's being played out right in front of us. So it's it's really this COVID thing is a very convenient thing to be able to create what I've got pulled up right now on the World Economic Forum website, which they're calling the Great Reset, and so they're on their website. They say the opportunity. As we enter a unique window of opportunity to shape the recovery, this initiative will offer insights to help inform all those determining the future state of global relations, the direction of national economies, the priorities of societies, the nature of business models, and the management of global commons. Drawing from the vision and vast expertise of the leaders engaged across the forum communities, the Great Reset Initiative has a set of dimensions to build a new social contract that honors the dignity of every human being. I wonder what that new social contract is going to be. Probably something like, one world government kind of thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you talk about that because the new social contract, I guarantee if you go look at the language, you'll find things that you disagree with. That's supposed to be agreeable to everybody
Yeah.
because in every document, legal or otherwise, that is meant to be a binding contract, there is buried information that if you sign the dotted line, you agree to. I mean, it's just a given. It happens in everything. It happens in banking, for goodness sakes. Um, so, to say that these guys are altruistic, I think is an extreme overreach.
Right. Well, really, and I've gone through some of this book, but Derek Bros has done some research into this. There's a good author, Patrick Wood, that talks about technocracy, and Derek Bros recently wrote a book called "How to Opt Out of the Technocratic State." But I mean, this is what's happening right now. I mean, they're building a technocratic control system. So we never thought that social credit score from that they're implementing in China would come to the U.S., but it's already here. If you
That's big.
if you say something on YouTube that the powers that shouldn't be don't like, then well, I guess you can't go stay at that Airbnb. This has happened to a comedian, Owen Benjamin, recently, and they cut him off from using Airbnb just because he said one thing in a video a long time ago that they didn't like.
Let me point this. I want to point something out. That only works when you have huge conglomerates controlling an industry. If you have a decentralized system where people are doing their own thing, all of that goes out the window. So you have these people that are out there decrying the injustices done by huge corporations. But at the same time, on the backside, they're telling you you have to have these huge corporations dictate your life. It's a
Yeah.
misnomer. We have it's a disconnect, and we have to break away from our cognitive dissonance and say, "Holy crap, these guys are deceiving me," because it happens routinely. If you think that some CEO sitting in an office doesn't have an incentive to collect, $25 million bonus between now and Christmas, then I don't know what planet you live on, but you're missing out on the boat there, because these guys are in the clique with the same people who are decrying that they should suppress the same people who are making the money. In fact, most of the politicians who get out there and decry these sort of things get kickbacks from the same people. So, uh, I don't know. I'm going to shut up before I work myself into a corner here, to where people are just badgering the crap out of me. But I've seen enough dealing with my patent on the plasma technology. I've seen enough of it to know that politics is not involved with the greater good. They don't care about the greater good. What they care about is what they can gain in the process.
Right.
And so,
So,
you know,
so
I think the
yeah,
COVID's any different.
yeah, it is. It really is. Yeah, to me, it's just, a way to roll out this technocratic control state. And basically, just like you demonstrated earlier, cash is dirty. It can be contaminated, but your credit card, why don't you just buy something online? Why don't you, don't, it's convenient. You won't get sick.
Online, I can see that that's not something where anybody's seeing anything or touching anything. But
Yeah.
when you're told to go into a store
Well,
and use a credit card rather than because the cash is
right.
contagious, that to me is a control mechanism.
No, I'm
That
not
is
saying
something that's a
I'm not suggesting to buy things online. I'm just saying like that's what they want everyone to do. Just like keep all your records of all your purchases in some electronic format so that they can
control.
see everything.
They know exactly what you're buying. They can use an AI to profile you, and they know what your tendencies are.
Right. So so yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the real push here is to get everybody in a totally track trace database system, and then cut you off from the convenience if you're being a bad little boy or girl, So the convenient payment systems like that we have now. We have like electronic payments through PayPal. You have services if you're trying to make money off your content like Patreon and GoFundMe. These services have been cut off for people that are trying to go against the grain and speak out against the authority. Speak out against authority right now, and so now is the time to really build those and use those other options like we got Hive here, we got library.tv. If anybody isn't familiar with that one right now, they got Library is a video platform. I think a lot of you guys understand what Library is. You got float.app. I'm on there, float.app. Greg makes stuff on float.app. And I think these guys are building in a way of actually selling goods through Float using cryptocurrencies. And using cryptocurrencies is especially Monero would be the one that I would suggest you use if you wanted to keep your transactions anonymous. And so uh, so yeah, there's
Wasn't the
other options than using credit cards or fiat cash. You can use precious metals or cryptocurrencies, especially Monero, which is more privacy centered.
Yeah, I wasn't one of the original concepts of digital currency is um, to be anonymous.
Yes.
I mean, am I mistaken?
Yes, to be trustless and to be anonymous, but yeah, I mean, Bitcoin is a pure public ledger, so you can trace all the transactions and where it's coming, where it's going,
Mhm.
and that's the reason why it's trustless, is because the software
Similar situation
is making sure that
at a similar situation to cash. Cash is anonymous.
yeah, and so the only the number one cryptocurrency that's really doing that and focusing on that is Monero. And um, so yeah, Bitcoin was the start, and it was pseudo anonymous in the beginning. As long as you didn't tie your name to your wallet address and stuff like that, that you could stay somewhat anonymous. You didn't tie it to an email that you owned or something like that, and you could stay anonymous. But now they can track where those bitcoins are going, and there's a lot of requirements for KYC documents, so that you have to reveal your identity to be able to trade in certain exchanges and things like that. Monero is the only one where you don't have any of that you have to do, and it's private by nature. So yeah, that would be the one cryptocurrency, if you're really going to use cryptocurrencies, that I would recommend getting into, is Monero.
I would, in my opinion, assets are the way to go because they can't take them away from you. Um,
Most definitely,
you have,
yeah.
you have
It,
tools, equipment, property. That's where it's at. And as a matter of fact, the big investors, the ones that are worth billions, they're all converting their cash and their 401ks and everything over to assets. That's no accident. Um, they're expecting something. What that is, I can't say exactly, but they're expecting something. And we can look at the patterns and say, well, we believe or we think by the patterns that if you have everything in cash and 401ks and retirements and paper retirements, then you're going to have a hard time down the road.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, definitely. What I always tell people is get your food, water, shelter, and power systems up and going, and then if you have anything extra at the end of the day, to make some investments and put your savings into things like precious metals, or some cryptocurrency, hold some cryptocurrencies and things like that. So, but definitely you need to
You
make sure your
do,
basics are covered.
if you do precious metals, please take possession of it. Don't do the thing where they send
Yes,
you a certificate
yes,
because
hold
if you're
physical possession of your metals.
going, they own it and they're just holding it for you.
Yep. So thank you, Vaccines Cause Avian Flu Movement 19. Thank you for being on the show, or being listening to the show today. We'll see you later, man. Have a good day. Um, yep. And so, yeah, definitely, you um, have to hold those metals in your own hand, and those paper certificates. Uh, Most likely, there's not the metals to back up your paper, what's on paper. So you need to hold them yourself.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on with people trading paper, so I don't know that I would trust it, but I mean, people do what they want to do, but me personally, I wouldn't trust it.
Yep.
Anyway, I'm
Yep.
not any kind of financial expert or
No, me
something like
me
that.
either. Yeah. Yeah, you got to do your
I
own
can,
own research, but those are the things that
right.
I invest in, and so I think that will be helpful in the future. Is having some physical silver on hand and um, maybe a little cryptocurrencies, but never invest what you can't lose. Not a financial advisor. just
Yeah, it's
just
probably uh,
just some things that I do.
to say, hey, can't spare it, don't spend it.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. Yep. So yeah, I mean,
I mean, if you just a lot of the big wigs are investing all of their taking their money out of the paper and putting it into real hard assets, and that should tell most people something.
right, right. Yeah, I really like this one guy, Chris Dwayne, also for silver. He does these mini vintage silver rounds, and you can find that at goldenstatemint.com and under Silver Shield. But yeah, he does these really like amazing mini mintage proofs of coins, and they kind of catalog the state of the world as things are progressing here. So I kind of feel like moving into the future, like these will be kind of like really highly prized pieces of artwork. So, and they're silver.
That's cool.
Yep. Yep. So
But anyway, we get back to the original premise of this whole thing.
yep.
You can avoid a lot of these problems by just growing your own food. If
Absolutely.
you and I mean, me personally and my family, we've tried to eliminate as much debt as possible, and we had to take on some debt during COVID. But the overall premise is to try to reduce debt as much as possible and be as self sufficient as possible. And being self sufficient has allowed us to reduce debt more and more. And um, so that's another aspect of it. The more self sufficient you get, the more out of debt you get. Um, and if you can get to that situation, I think anyway, then you're going to stand a much better chance of weathering through whatever we have coming. What we have coming, who knows? These people change their plans daily, but I don't want to be part of their system. I just want to try to fend for myself, provide for the family, and and if the world wants to go off the deep end and run themselves off a cliff, that's their business. But I don't want to be part of that. And so anyway, that's kind of where I am on this stuff. Um,
Yeah, man, I'm in the same direction, and definitely, when you're moving in the direction, you can see that you take your health into your own under your own hands. You take your sustenance under your own hands, and your own security and things like that, and embrace personal responsibility. Uh, that yeah, you just it actually really alleviates a lot of anxiety, and when you're taking actions to create a positive future for yourself, then you go in the present moment when you're taking those actions, and then you get those wins in whenever you make your accomplishments, whenever you accomplish something, and that really puts you in the present moment and takes you out of any anxiety for the future or anything like that. And like I've been saying, it's all our free will to on where things are going to go. So, if you're going to comply with what's going on right now, that you're gonna deserve whatever's gonna come to you. But if you choose to see what's happening and go in a different direction, that I believe that you will be protected, because that the creator and supporting creation is something that I believe puts you on a path of being protected, and also raises your vibration on the planet, so that it's just kind of that karma, that law of karma that a lot of people talk about. What goes around comes around, kind of thing.
Yeah, I've experienced a lot of that in my life. If I do something that I know I shouldn't be doing, it always comes back and bites me. I mean, it's and I just over time just surrendered to the fact that that's just the way it was. So anyway, I don't want to go down that road, but these the fact is that if people want to get fired up and excited about doing something for themselves, the first thing that they should be looking at is food production.
Right.
Because if they can get their own food situation under control, they can eliminate a lot of the environmental aspects that may be affecting their mental acuity. And people a lot of times will, I've had family members say, well, it don't affect me. And then they would make some just off the wall decision. And I mean, where did you come up with that? And they got no answer. Um, there, there are things that we can do to bring ourselves out of the system, or at least bring ourselves to the point to where we're not so influenced by the system.
Yeah.
And the deeper you get into the system, the more subjugated you're going to be to the system. And that's by design. It's not any accident. So, to me, the first step begins with getting your food production in order. Try to get yourself to where if the supermarket shuts down, you can make it 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Take an inventory. How long could I last? What if the supermarket shut down? How long could I make it?
Yeah.
When you look at it that way, it kind of makes you realize that you're vulnerable.
Right.
So you can eliminate that vulnerability by taking steps and taking measurements. And this is outside of I don't care if you buy the aquaponics thing or not. I don't care. But at least try to grow something, put something in a pot and grow it. Get some experience because you're going to need it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and it's just those small things you do every day, and like I said, those steps help alleviate your anxiety for the future. So yeah, I mean, just take those little steps toward set a goal, and try to take those little steps each day to try to approach that goal. So uh, and be safe, Swoop. Looks like he's deciding to go down a scary alleyway. So be, one of the audience members, he's going down a scary alleyway, apparently. So
I can't see any, so I don't know what they're saying or
yeah.
anything. Maybe they think I'm off the road, but uh, all I can say is that I think we're dead on the mark about the supply chain, the monetary system, and the food supply, because these are the things that are going to be most relevant to most people. Because if you don't have a job, you don't have money, If the supply chain shuts down, you don't have supplies. Uh, you know, it feeds on itself. So, and I don't have any doubt in my mind anyway. Other people may question it, but I don't have any doubt in my mind that this stuff is it's almost like planned obsolescence in manufacturing. When they manufacture a TV, but they plan for it to fail in a year and a half and they build it into the engineering. This is something that's been engineered and planned for years, if not decades. And if you're not prepared for it, then they're going to pull out the old adage, well, we told you so, sorry, and just hammer you down.
Yep.
So,
Yep. So I put a couple of other resources up there in the chat room. A couple of groups that are getting together around the globe. One is a thing that Owen Benjamin's doing right now. It's called the Great Bear Trail, but it's folks that are homesteaders type people that are believe in personal responsibility and all that kind of stuff. That they're creating a network of people around the country, and that you can get involved by just putting and trying to do some local meetups in your area or something with other people that are around you based on kind of a map that they got going there. You don't have to put your physical address on there or anything like that. You can just put like around what area you're in, and then you can decide to meet up in whatever way that you want to meet up in the beginning, and then just kind of try to. It's a tool to help you build a network, much like building the networks between people that that are along the same mindset. And so you got that. I just posted in the chat. It's called thegreatbeartrail.com. And then another option is a project by Derek Bros and the Conscious Resistance, and those guys over there is called freedomcells.org. And Freedom Cells does the exact same thing. It's just you set up something. There's a map of other people of like mind that are trying to live more self-sufficiently and trying to stay away from the using the system as it stands now and be more self-reliant. And so there's a whole network of people around the country that are working on that. And if you want to become a part of that, or at least like maybe look on the map and see if there's anybody around in your area that maybe you can team up with, that option is available for you as well. And it's all about having voluntary relationships and moving in a direction that's just like we're talking about growing your own food and taking care of what you got going on for yourself and your family to stay healthy, and yeah, just moving a better direction as this system is transitioning into whatever it's going to transition into. Probably most likely a very top down control system where there's a very little lack of innovation and growth, and just total control over humanity. So if you don't want to do that, if you want to go in a different direction, then there's some things that are going on. And then even if you just want to be an independent person and just get started on just getting a little thing going for yourself, then you got that. But I really think that it's really important to have community, especially moving forward here. So I highly encourage you guys to go check out those websites if you want to get more community and find more people around you that are looking to do looking to do some similar things.
yeah, and you hit up on a key word there, transition.
Yeah.
We're in a state of transition, and I don't care how much you deny it or believe it or ignore it. It's happening. We're in a state of transition. So you have to, and the way I look at it anyway is that you have to come out there and say, okay, we're in a state of transition. There's nothing I can do to change that. How can I turn it around for me? And so you need to look at things that can work for you that will change it around to where you're not going to be so hammered during the transition or afterwards, because the standard go to the office and work the job is pretty much out the window at this point. It's not completely dead, but it's going the way of the dodo.
Yeah.
I've seen I've seen some residential and commercial real estate reports, and they were talking about how the commercial real estate will take a huge hit first because people are staying at home and working; they're not going to the office. Um, and then after that, the real estate in the residential area will take a huge hit. So we're going to see values that people have their entire investment built up in, a property, a house. This is my nest egg. You're going to see that go down by 50% from about April or May next year. And that's already happening. They've already got the legislation in place. The bankruptcies are already off the charts. They've just postponed it because of COVID. So this is coming. We have an avalanche coming down the mountain at us. The question is, what are we going to do about it? How are we going to react?
Right.
And we react in a lot of different ways, but it's already in motion. We don't have any choice or control over it. That's not to
Good
say
morning,
that
everyone.
we're doom and gloom or anything like that. We can position ourselves to come out on top, but you're going to have to look into it and stop the cognitive dissonance and stop saying that there's not a problem or worrying about the mask being the problem. The problem is beyond all of that stuff. All of this stuff is just face value stuff to get you thinking in one spot over here while something else is happening over here. It's classic misdirection.
Yes.
So um, just look around. All I can say is that take a hard look and look around, because reevaluate your own situation. Look at your food supply. Look at your situation financially. Evaluate where you are and try to position yourself in such a way that you won't be hammered so hard if the worst case scenario were to occur. I'm not saying it will, but uh, chances are good. Um,
Yeah.
the
So speaking along those lines, just like you were saying, there's going to be some opportunities, but you really need to be prepared for those opportunities that may arise
right,
out of this event. So, some of the things that are possibilities. I recently watched this video by another homesteader on YouTube. His name is Wrangler Star, and he was giving some tips on what could be, some potential business opportunities coming up in the future here. And one of them that he stated was, if you can find some property, that's maybe that's becomes a depressed property. If you buy it up, you can rent out instead of renting out an entire house to somebody or some family or whatever. That you rent out individual rooms and you have one kind of a common living area, and then you reduce people's rent because rather than paying a $1,500 a month $1,500 a month rent, then you're able to do like a $400 or $500 a month rent, and it's more manageable for you. So, uh, so that's one thing, uh, and then he gave another really good suggestion on there, and I can't remember exactly what it is right now. But go check out that video. It's really good on Wrangler Star. I just posted that in the chat. So he gives a couple of really good options for being able to make some money in the times that were coming up on here. Give some good advice on that.
Yeah, and I don't know that I would focus on the money so much as I would the personal situation. As far as I'm concerned, anyway, I'm more focused on what can I do to make myself and my family more secure down the line, rather than how much money can I make.
Yeah.
But uh, definitely, the real estate market is coming into a situation at the first 4 months of next year, around April, May. Uh, what's happened here is we had COVID hit, and we had people that filed for extensions and deferrals on their mortgage, and they couldn't get them. And what they got was instead was a moratorium on their mortgage from a predatory lender. And basically, the moratorium said, well, we'll give you 6 months where you don't have to pay a payment, but at the end of 6 months, you have to pay up all six. Well, the government came around because it was going to hit in August and said, well, let's give it another 6 months. So now they're going to give these same people 6 more months, which means that around February of next year, you're going to see a record number of foreclosures. From what I'm hearing from the industry people that I know, is that it's going to be at least 2 or 3 times worse than 2008, where the amount of foreclosures are going to be off the charts. And as a result, the foreclosures property values are going to plummet, creating a situation where all residential property values plummet. Because why would you buy a house that's 2 years old for 200,000 when you can get one with the same property and the same space and everything else that's 5 years old for half the money? Now, I ran the real estate game for years building houses, and I saw a cycle going up and down with this exact sort of thing, but it never to this extreme. 2008 was really extreme for me because I had 5 spec houses sitting out at the time when it hit. And, it was all I could do to get out of that without going bankrupt.
Yeah.
I just can't imagine. You've got all of these builders now that are running gangbusters talking about how fantastic the building market is. And I've had 2 or 3 of them approach me and say, you need to get back into it, man. You're missing out. But
Do you think that
I,
it's because there are a lot of people potentially moving out of the cities and looking for properties out
well, that's
outside
a
cities right
huge
now?
part of it right now. That's a huge part of it right now. But what's going to happen is as the values plummet, it's going to become more expensive to build than it is to buy. In other words, you can buy repos at 20 or 30% lower than you can build a new house or buy a new house. So it's a no-brainer for the customer, the consumer, because they're going to buy all these repos up. And what that means is that you're going to put all these home builders out of business. Now, you say, well, these rich home builders, who cares? Well, 20 to 30% of the economy is tied to residential construction. If you knock that out of the equation, all of a sudden you knock the whole potential of the economy down by 30%. And it could be even worse than that. It could go down to 50. And not to mention that probably a quarter of the workforce is in construction in some way or another.
Yeah.
So, what we've got coming down the pipe here is not pretty. You need to situate yourself for it. You need to prepare. You need to get yourself situated so you can weather the storm. Now, it's just like any other thing. It will pass, but it's going to take a lot of people by surprise.
Yeah, well, I definitely believe that it will, and it's going to require new business type models, for moving forward in the future. And like the one thing that I'm very interested, and I'm going to be getting started here pretty soon. Is I just received this waste pot, pro, this waste pot invention from Ben Peterson. I got one of his first um, systems that he put out, and so this is going to be, all towards the decentralized way of taking in waste plastics and waste management, so that you can process them on a localized level and be able to produce something useful out of it, with usable diesel fuels for generators, or running a tractor, or you can even put it in your vehicle. Um, and so yeah, so this is like one of the ways, and Ben Peterson has built the whole ecosystem behind this business into what he's calling a contributorship. So the people that actually, are going to buy his product are able to earn a commission on the sale of other product, of more of the systems and things like that, and then can actually like work your way up to actually kind of owning part, and being like kind of a partner in the business. So this is a kind of a new model on how to do business right now, and it's all more about the collaboration instead of like having like one guy at the top. It's more of like a lot of people on the team that are all kind of working towards the same goal of building and getting the technology out to more people and getting the education
Right.
out.
I encourage that kind of thing because what we're going to see is a push towards the top as this situation gets worse. We're going to say, well, just trust so and so, and they'll get us through this. And they're going to put together a group of CEOs that control certain industries. I mean, it's coming. Uh, uh, we don't want to go down that road if we can help it, because if we put one person in control of an entire industry like steel, then the entire industry is going to suffer because of it. Because he's going to make decisions based on his lifestyle and his situation, and not consider the steel worker, or the guy that's transferring it in, or the shipper, or the truck driver, or whatever. So, yeah, getting the waste bot thing is a way to cut that middleman out so that they lose their bureaucratic control over it. And that's where we need to be headed with everything, in my opinion. I mean, we need to be headed that way with food and fuel and the whole 9 yards. We need to get the bureaucrats out of the system, out
Right.
of the way, because those guys, they set up situations where their cronies make huge profits and they profit from it, and they have dictatorial control in the process. And
Yeah,
this is the fundamentals of the socialism. So this is why we cannot allow this to happen.
right. And they really stifle innovation and things from, being able to move people, being able to open up their businesses rapidly. And really, what I'm saying is that there's tools now that you can run your business, in what would be called the second realm. You could call it, is a phrase used in the voluntarist circles, that using algorithm, you use the underground markets. You don't need a business license to operate your underground trade networks and gray and black markets. And so the black markets being anything that the state deems illegal, such as like guns and alcohol and drugs and things like that. And then the gray markets would be things that are the state may deem legal, but you're not reporting any taxes or anything on that. It's like flea markets, yard sales, things like that. So so that is the most effective way at taking the power
So,
away
I
from the
mean,
state.
here's a classical bureaucratic, socialist, bureaucratic control mechanism. You want to have a yard sale. You have to go through months of bureaucratic tape, pay huge things to get a permit and then pay like 30, 40, 50% of what you make to the state.
Right.
So is that really in the best interest of you and society? Or is it in the best interest of whoever's collecting the money? And you just have to
Yeah.
ask yourself basic questions, to get around these sort of things, because a lot of times it don't make sense, and people just go with it because they're conditioned to go with it. But well, they said at the courthouse I had to.
No.
Really? I mean, I was told one time about 10 years ago, maybe, well, closer to 15, when my kids were in school. I had a woman call me from the high school
Yeah.
and said, I noticed you didn't sign your consent to have these vaccines for your children.
Yeah.
And I said, no, and I'm not going with it, because vaccine nearly killed me. Why would I consent? Well, sir, it's the law. And I said, what law is that? No answer. Sir, it's the law. I said, no, it's not the law. So I'll have just got mad and just started stammering. I'll have the sheriff come and arrest you. And I said, well, just come and do it. You bring them on. Bring them on to the house, bring them on up here,
Yeah.
and we'll take it from there. And nothing ever happened because there's no law.
Right.
And they use this thing, they put it in people's head that it's the law. There's no law. And this is the same thing that's the COVID thing. There's no laws in process. They just they say it's got to be this way, and then most people comply because they want to be good citizens. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I want to be a good citizen in my community. I want to supply. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
Well,
especially when it comes to something like
well,
COVID.
I definitely think it's good to challenge that and not buy into the and not perpetuate the delusions that that this is something by wearing a mask or anything. That's my viewpoint. But anyway, we're coming up on the end of the show. I'll leave you with whatever. I'll leave you with the last word, Robbie. Go check out Robbie's website, DIYAquaponic.com. Makers 90 off is the code if you guys want to go get the Aquaponics Essentials book. And
right, just go to the Aquaponics Essentials, put in the code, get the book for $1, and you'll understand the basics of all the aquaponics at that point. You'll get the rundown on all of the biology, how it works, how the systems are designed. And that's not going to give you a build. It's not going to give you detailed instructions on how to build something, but it's going to tell you how it all works. And once you understand that, you can take the build to the next levels. And of course, we're going to come out with new books along the way that tell you how to build all this stuff step by step. But I thought it was essential, as the thing implies, to let people know how it works. Because if you can't get to the root of something, you're just dancing around it. You're not, it's like a car, okay? Your car breaks down, you have to go see somebody to get it fixed. But you didn't build that car. You try to build that car from the ground up, you're not going to get anywhere with it. And if you do, it's going to be minimal at best.
Yep.
The point is that I wanted you to have the information so that when you build your system, you know what's happening. You know what the biology is, you know what the chemistry is, you know what the pH is, you know what the temperature is, and you know how things work. And if you know that, you can design systems, you can make systems, or you can troubleshoot systems, and you won't have any of the issues that you would have otherwise. So if you just feel compelled to run to YouTube and build a system, that's fine. That's up to you. I had a guy here yesterday who did that very thing and then hired a consultant to come to his house, paid her $1,000, and she built a system that I described as the worst possible system. And it collapsed on him and he had to dose it down. So that's just up to you, if you want to go down that route. But I'm trying to give you the information to save you you know, thousands of hours of research time and thousands of dollars of experimental trial and error time so that you can make something that works for you. And the bottom line here is that I want to get this out so that people can have a stable food supply and we don't have to depend on this stupid thing with just in time on the shipping. Because if
Right.
we get to that level as a society, we're going to also, and I don't want that to happen.
Absolutely. So thank you for coming on the show with me today, Robbie. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your day to come on and talk to me about this stuff. And definitely, everybody go check out DIYAquaponic.com. I put that in the chat room there. It'll also be in the show notes, and we'll have the discount code there for you. And that's good until August. You said there, Robbie.
August 3rd.
All right,
So
so
we're going to have 3 weeks here, including this weekend, 3 weekends where you can go get the thing for $1.
all right,
And
guys.
after that, back to the price. So, yeah. All right, man. Well, have a good one. I'm going to go out here and do some work on the homestead.
All right, brother. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you coming on, taking your time today to come chat with me.
Later, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too, brother.